If you're looking to climb the rank ladder and hard carry with Taliyah, this guide will 100% help you reach your goals. Whether you're looking to play her mid, jungle, support or bot lane carry, it's got everything covered. With her rework, players are just not aware of her power spikes and new combos. Everything you need from builds, combos, tips, tricks, gameplay strategy, even complete matchups is here. If you want to join a community focused on improving, make sure to subscribe. I'm Zoose, and let's get straight into this guide and see what makes this mage from Shurima so special. All timestamps are in the description below. Let's quickly cover each ability, then after each one, I'll show you tips and tricks you can use right now in your next game to give you an advantage. Her passive, Rock Surfing, allows Taliyah to move faster when traveling next to walls and other terrain like towers and inhibs. This increases as you level up, and you get the maximum increase at level 15, which is 55% bonus movement speed. Use this to roam the map, gank bot and top, or even look to kill the jungler. It's great to get to lane faster, making sure to follow the terrain. It can be used to escape or chase enemies, however, it will be put on cooldown if you've taken or dealt damage within the last 2 seconds. Her Q, Threaded Volley, throws 5 rocks one after another. Each deals damage in a small AoE. Enemies will take reduced damage after the first. Using this will create worked ground on the floor. If you use Q again on worked ground, you will instead throw a bigger rock which deals double the damage to the first enemy hit, slows all targets hit, only costs 20 mana, and it is half the cooldown. This will be a main poke tool because of the medium to long range. Use this ability to clear waves as it costs the least for the damage it deals. Make sure to use the big Q to hit as many minions as possible. Use it to check brushes. If enemies are hit, you'll notice the trajectory has stopped. It will also make a specific sound. We'll be using the big Q to slow enemies and follow up with our next ability in order to perform optimal combos, which I'll cover in another section. Her W, Seismic Shove, knocks up all enemies in a small area to whichever direction you target. This is one of the hardest skill shots to perform, perhaps in the entire game. It has a unique mechanic in which you essentially have to give 2 directions. The first is where you want the area to knock up, and then you must decide which direction. Use it to knock enemies into your team or peel them off by pushing them away. You can actually knock enemies over walls, but they must be thin walls. It provides vision in fog of war and brushes, although it has a long cooldown, so it's better to use Q to check. By itself, it is quite hard to land, so we'll be using our big Q slow and our next ability to increase our chances. It deals no damage, however, it will force enemies to take more damage and be stunned in combination with our next ability. Her E, Unraveled Earth, quickly places 22 boulders on the ground in a large area that slows enemies walking through. It deals initial damage to enemies hit, and if they dash or are pushed through using your W, they will take more damage and be stunned. Since it slows enemies, you can use this first, then follow up with W, or you can use the W and then E for a bigger surprise factor. If enemies are chasing you, use this to force them to either back off or take damage if they walk through. If you anticipate enemies are going to dash onto you, use this so they stun themselves. This is another great wave clearing tool. However, it costs a lot more mana than your Q, so only use it if you have plenty of mana to spare or you're going back to base. You can use this to check fog of war or brushes. If rocks are missing, someone's been hit. If rocks make a certain noise or animation, someone's been hit. I'll cover everything you need to know in combos. And finally, her ultimate, Weaver's Wall, allows Taliyah to create a long wall. If you press it twice, you will surf along the wall. Only hard CC like stuns and polymorphs will knock you off the wall. You can jump off the wall by movement clicking, but not within the first 0.75 seconds. You won't be able to use this at all if you've taken damage in the last 3 seconds. The wall lasts 5 seconds, so remember to recast it to destroy it, especially if you or your team needs to walk through an area that's blocked. Use it to roam and get to fights quickly before your laner. It's also a great escape tool in lane or even when you side lane. Try to block enemies off in a teamfight or save a teammate so enemies can't chase them. Wall off enemies while you're taking Dragon or Baron. If enemies are pushing in your base, use it to stop minions and champions from hitting the tower, helping your team stay in the game longer. Do you need to backdoor? Well, now is your chance to finish off the game by surfing in and finishing off the Nexus. You can extend the jump off range depending on how it interacts with the terrain. Thick walls allow you to jump off way more. Careful using this mechanic as it could cause you to jump right in the middle of the enemy team. Use it to knock enemies over walls. This is a bit of a coin flip because the wall is quite slow and enemies will have time to react, so you might even save them. Ability order. In almost all cases, you want to start and max Q. It provides wave clear and poke with a decent mana cost, especially if you use the big Q, which only costs 20 mana. Her E is maxed second as it increases the damage, slow and stun. You'll max W last since it does no damage and is purely utility. It will however cost 0 mana when it's maxed at level 18. And of course you want to level your ultimate anytime you can, which is at level 6, 11 and 16. It will increase the distance, making it a very important tool for mid to late game. There is perhaps a small instance where you may need to level E or W first for the CC if you are being chased or perhaps your team wants to invade. I would still recommend Q for invades as the amount of AoE damage you deal is insane for level 1. There's quite a few major runes taken by pro and top solo queue players. Different pros will take different runes even for the same matchup, so I'll go through the top 4 runes: Electrocute, Dark Harvest, Summon Aery and First Strike. I'll cover all the runes for mid lane. Check the other roles section if you want info on jungle support or bot lane carry. Electrocute is by far the most popular rune on Taliyah mid. Even though your Q throws 5 rocks, it only counts as one Electrocute proc. Your W doesn't do damage, but it does count as an Electrocute proc. Remember to get in auto attacks when you take this rune. This rune is very consistent early game. Dark Harvest is the other major rune from Domination. It's optimal if you can consistently pick up kills or get enemies below 50% and pick up stacks. It scales well into the late game. Summon Aery is a rune worth considering, especially with her Q poke. This takes advantage of her big Q's low mana cost. If you're able to consistently proc Aery, whether it's through Q spam or auto attacks, it will do more damage than the 2 previous runes. It doesn't rely on any combos that do chunks of damage like Electrocute and Dark Harvest to be efficient. First Strike is the final viable option if you can poke the enemy before they poke you, usually when you outrange your matchup. It amplifies your damage, which is great for combos and even grants you some gold. A good snowballing rune to get that item power spike quicker. I personally prefer Dark Harvest as I'm constantly aiming to poke and chunk my lanes. However, if that's not an option, I'll push in my waves and then look for any skirmishers to join with my jungler or roam either bot or top. It's a great rune for constantly fighting around the map. Let's go over minor runes. With Electrocute and Dark Harvest, you want to take Taste of Blood if you want some heal sustain, or Cheap Shot for extra damage. Cheap Shot can be activated with all your abilities. Take Eyeball Collection for some extra AP after takedowns, however, Zombie Ward or Ghost Poro are viable if you want vision control. There's a few options for the final minor runes. You want to take Treasure Hunter for extra gold for the first time takedowns, great to hit those item power spikes quicker. Relentless Hunter is another option if you plan to roam a lot. If there's a low chance you'll kill your laner, take this. A final option is Ingenious Hunter, which is only really viable if you pick Everfrost, although a lot of items you do purchase do have cooldown. With Summon Aery, Mana Flow Band is the first choice, as it provides some useful mana sustain until you have Lost Chapter. Transcendence for extra ability haste and potential to snowball fights as you're able to spam more abilities. Finally, you can pick between Scorch for early game poking pressure, Water Walking if you want to prioritize roaming, and Gathering Storm for late game power spike, which I'd say really kicks off after 30 minutes, which barely happens in this meta. And if you've chosen First Strike, Magical Footwear as the first choice for free boots. Considering the movement speed she gains from a passive, she can skip boots early on. Minion Dematerializer for the second rune. You want to take this against heavy pushing laners, and you can use one on each different minion if you're unsure, so one on the caster, one on the melee, and one on the cannon. Finally, take Cosmic Insight for general summer spell and item haste. As for second page options, you want to choose from these 3 trees: Precision, Inspiration or Sorcery. You can mix and match depending on your major rune choices. From Precision, take Presence of Mind plus Coup de Grace for some mana sustain and extra damage respectively. If you want extra health and mana, especially during laning phase, pick up Biscuit Delivery and Time Warp Tonic. This will be best paired with a Corruption Potion start, which I'll cover soon. However, Inspiration has quite a few other runes that you can consider, which includes Magical Footwear, Perfect Timing, Minion Dematerializer and Cosmic Insight. Finally, from Sorcery, you can go with Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, Water Walking, and Gathering Storm for any of the reasons previously mentioned. If you're not sure on second pages and are new to Taliyah, I would recommend Biscuit Delivery plus Time Warp Tonic. It's forgiving with mana usage early, and you'll be able to recover from any bad trades. Once you're confident or have more experience, try Presence of Mind and Coup de Grace. Starting items: Doran's Ring plus 2 pots for most starts. Corrupting Potion is best taken if you've taken Biscuit Delivery plus Time Warp Tonic. Make sure to attack enemies with the burn passive to make this gold efficient. Tier plus 2 potions is a rare start and only viable if you're going Archangel Staff. Components and early item mentions: Dark Seal is a cheap first back with some potential to snowball. Even if you've started Corrupting Potion, you can still pick up a Doran's Ring early. For some extra laning sustain, Lost Chapter is your first goal as it will build into your Mythic. This resolves most of Taliyah's mana issues. Mythic Items: Ludens Echo is the best option if you're ahead or just generally able to combo your enemies without any problems, usually immobile champs. If you're the main damage carry in your team, you'll want this. Everfrost is the cheaper and safer option. Compared to Ludens, it has some health as well as the Glaciate active, which can slow and root enemies. Helpful for landing combos and general peel, which I'll cover soon. Leandri's Anguish is rarely taken, however, if you're up against 3 or more tanks, you'll want to consider this. Legendary items depend mostly on the enemy team comp and how they are building. Let's quickly cover some scenarios and then solutions. Magi Soulsealer is the cheapest legendary in the game. If you've already got stacks on Dark Seal and are confident you won't die, take this to snowball the games. Shadowflame. If you're after a power spike with some extra damage from AP and magic penetration at a reasonable price, as well as the added HP to help you survive, this is currently the best item to purchase after your Mythic. Zhonya's Hourglass. Are you in danger of being bursted or perhaps you want to make a risky play into multiple enemies? Then you'll want the important active Zhonya's provides with a 2.5 second stasis. You can always opt to purchase the stopwatch early and finish this item later on, especially if you don't exactly need the armor. Morellonomicon. If you're against heavy healing comps, then you'll need some sort of healing reduction item to counter them. However, you don't exactly need to finish this item right away and can simply choose to buy the Oblivion Orb for 800 gold. Rabadon's Death Cap. If you ever find yourself extremely ahead, you'll want to purchase the biggest AP power spike available. It will increase your total AP by 35%, so you'll gain much more gold value from this item if you purchase it as your 3rd or 4th item. Banshee's Veil. Are there any skill shot or CC threats stopping you from performing combos? Then you'll want a defensive item like Banshee's, which keeps you safe from the first ability, ignoring any CC and damage. It's more effective against AP champions as it provides MR, so you want to rely on Zhonya's if enemies are mostly AD. Void Staff. So you've reached late game or perhaps it's still mid game and enemies are stacking a bunch of MR. It's time to purchase your Void Staff. With 45% Magic Pen, this will become essential to counter MR and the potential to shred tanks. Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Since you're able to constantly proc this passive from every Q hit, most enemies will not be able to run once you've landed the initial Q. You already have some slows and CC, so if you've taken Everfrost, I wouldn't recommend purchasing this. Cosmic Drive. Great item to help you kite with the movement speed, and the big AP power spike, especially during combat, is a viable choice. Just be aware that it only activates once you've landed a combo. Horizon Focus. If you want the AP power spike to focus on burst, then Horizon Focus amplifies all your damage after you've landed any of your abilities. Perhaps if the enemy has no shields, pick this over Shadowflame. Lichbane. If you're able to consistently auto-attack enemies, Lichbane will amplify your auto-attacks after an ability, making it a great way to deal consistent damage. It becomes a great pushing tool, helping you take towers and objectives faster. Even go for backdoor plays to finish off the Nexus. Archangel's Staff. If you've picked up tier, you'll want to complete this. you'll have no mana problems with this item. As for boots, there's only one main choice, and that's Sorcerer's Shoes. The magic pen increases your kill potential early, and the movement speed will be essential for positioning with a mage champ like Taliyah. Ionian boots. This will be your extreme budget choice if you just need to desperately buy something. Defensive boots. In the rare cases that the enemies are all AD or all AP, you can opt for steel-plated caps or mercury treads respectively, as they'll be extremely gold efficient. However, you can still purchase sorcery shoes if you see yourself as the main carry and damage dealer of the team. Shards. Attack speed as the first shard, as it helps Taliyah's combos and generally activate Electrocute faster, but you can still take Adaptive for Dark Harvest and First Strike. You'll almost always want to take Adaptive Shard as the second choice. Armor or MR as the final choice, depending on your laning phase matchup and early enemy jungler threat. Summoner spells. By far the best summoner spell is Flash. The potential to Q-snipe finish off enemies, as well as escape, outplay and combo, is too important to ever skip on this. The second summoner spell seems to be another clear-cut choice, and that's Ignite. It increases your 1v1 potential, you're a higher threat in any early skirmishes, and it comes with healing reduction. Cleanse is a solid defensive summoner against CC champs. I'll cover when to take these in matchups. Exhaust is best taken against assassin threats that can burst you. TP is the safest option for lanes you'll be constantly pushed in, allowing you to base and come back to lane without falling behind. You can also use Unleash Teleport after 14 minutes, but Taliyah's ultimate already allows her to have some global pressure. Ghost as a final option, best for teams you need to kite and chase, but don't have much hard CC. Quick interactions. While your Q rocks are being thrown, Taliyah can auto attack. Remember to get in extra damage when you can. Pre-6 combos. Main trade combo number 1. W, E, Q. This combo is great to catch enemies by surprise. You want to start with W, and as they're being flipped, they'll take damage and be stunned from your E rocks. Follow up with Q damage on the stunned target. If your initial W isn't going to land, you don't have to use E and Q and can therefore save mana. Main trade combo number 2. E, W, Q. You'll be using the slow from E to increase your chance to land W. This is really effective against immobile champs. It has less of a surprise factor than the previous combo. Useful for kiting champs, especially if they have dashes. Wait until they are stunned, then peel them away with W. Main trade combo number 3. Big Q, W, E, Q. With this combo, you want to utilize the long range slow on your big Q, so it must be on the worked ground. Look for a W flip on the slow target and then E. The cooldown of Q should be almost up, so finish with another Q. Ult combos. Because her ultimate does no damage and is used mostly for utility, she doesn't really have a full ultimate combo. However, there's a small niche combo worth noting. The wall knockup. E and then R. Your E rock should already be on the floor, whether it's close range or far away, and then you'll be using your wall to knock them into E. It's very rare to pull this off, but keep in mind that it can work. Flash combos. You can add Flash before any of the main trade combos, however, her W and E are quite slow, so enemies have a good chance of escaping. Use Flash before the trade combos if enemies are already CC'd from your teammates' abilities. Q Flash. Great to snipe low HP enemies at long range. This is also great if you want to land a big Q from outside the worked ground. You can also use this right after the first 2 rocks have been thrown. Since there is a small delay after the first 2 rocks, time it just as the 3rd rock is about to be thrown for 3 quicker rocks. E Flash. Use Flash to land an E further away. It can be very useful in teamfights when you see enemies bunched up. Follow up with W and Q. Item combos. Q Zhonya. Your Q continues throwing rocks even while you're in the Zhonya stasis. Zhonya full combo. W, E, Q, Zhonyas. Perform a quick main trade combo, then immediately Zhonya. All your abilities will trigger while you're in Zhonyas. Great for those clutch situations where you're almost dead, or there are multiple enemies nearby. Everfrost. There's no real combo, but if you root enemies with Glaciate active, follow up with a guaranteed WEQ combo. Early game. Invading with Taliyah is strongly recommended with the AoE damage and low cooldown of her Q. Pushing in waves with Q at level 1 opens up space since enemies won't be able to hide behind minions. Certain enemies like LeBlanc will be forced to counter push using their main abilities, putting their abilities on cooldown and leaving them vulnerable to your next poke or trade combo as they'll struggle to return damage. At level 3, look for main trade combos, even on top of minions, and aim to all in your laner. Mana can be an issue if you start spamming E. Most of your mana problems will be over once you finish Lost Chapter. Pushing in waves early will help you get to fights in the jungle and river quicker. You'll have priority in those important skirmishes with your jungler. You may want to freeze waves if you want to encourage ganks. Try to chain CC with your jungler. Unless you're confident you'll land W, let them use their CC first, then follow up. Use your passive along walls to join skirmishes. Since we'll be pushing in most waves, we can take advantage of Taliyah's incredible poke and harass while enemies are under tower. If you see the enemy jungler, you can use R to escape, unless they have hard CC like someone like Lissandra and Mouse who can flash and ult you. Roaming is another solid option for Taliyah. Make your way bot, top, or in the enemy jungle. Skirmishes or teamfights around objectives like Herald or Dragon are perfect for Taliyah. There's more chance enemies will be bunched up, allowing you to deal AoE damage. Mid-game. This is Taliyah's time to dominate. You'll usually have 2 to 3 AP items, which is more than enough to burst most squishies, so be ready to catch enemies out. At this point, you should be looking to make picks with or without your team. A single pick can really open up the game, giving your team the advantage to take objectives. This is also the time where you have amazing potential to 1v2, even 1v3, especially if you camp a brush and one-shot an enemy before they even have time to react. Even if you take out 2 enemies and get killed, it will hopefully allow for the rest of your team to pick up objectives and farm around the map. Fights around the river, jungle or epic monster pits are great for Taliyah. There's plenty of brushes and lack of vision to catch players. Pick up a control ward and swap your trinket to sweepers for extra vision denial. Taliyah has strong sieging and dive potential, especially with items like Zhonya's. Look to engage, spam all abilities, and then spam Zhonya's when you start taking damage from enemies in the tower. Sidelaning is a great option if you're falling behind or just want some extra farm. You can always escape with your ultimate, just make sure you haven't taken any damage in the last 3 seconds. Once you've pushed side lanes, use your ultimate to join a team fight. Late game. A lot of the mid game applies to late game with Taliyah. However, you'll be punished much harder if you ever decide to go all in and mess it up. In saying that, 1W knockup can change an entire teamfight and ultimately win you the game. Keep an eye on enemies who have flash or any important abilities on cooldown, as you'll have a greater chance to wipe them out early in a fight. Like most mages, you'll have a much harder time one-shotting squishy champs, as they'll be constantly grouped up and finish their survivability items. Again, fights around Barons and Elder Dragons are great since they have plenty of walls and brushes to play around. Remember to finish off with Void Stuff if you're going to have any chance of chunking tanks. However, if that's not a problem, focus on more AP items. Be on the lookout if your team engages and use your ultimate to join the fight. Teamfighting. Taliyah excels in teamfights with plenty of AoE damage and CC. Kiting will become essential, spamming your Q while keeping your distance from enemy threats. Look to burst enemies before a fight starts. With one squishy dead, you'll now have a 5v4 advantage. Taliyah also excels at cleaning up and finishing off low HP targets. If you haven't used your ultimate to join the fight, you'll now be able to finish off low HP enemies who are trying to escape. This means it's extremely important to never be the first one to die. Some fights, you'll want to simply stay back at all costs while constantly poking with Q and E, using W to flip targets away from you. Peeling is another useful option, especially when you have a fed member on your team and you're slightly behind. Save your W for them. Zoning with your E can also prevent enemy carries from getting too close. Simply place them right in tight areas so they are slowed and are forced to either walk around, and some will avoid walking through at all, otherwise they risk getting hit by your W. Although not exactly easy to pull off, you'll want to aim Q whenever enemies are bunched for the AoE damage. It's a very small radius, but hitting 3 or more enemies can seriously turn most fights in your favor. If things turn bad quickly in a teamfight, for example 2 of your carries get wiped out, just try and get out safely. Surviving allows you to wave clear and hopefully give your team a chance to stay in the game and win the next fight. Let's quickly group matchups into easy, medium and hard. Easy matchups are low threat. You'll generally have an easy time poking them, and you'll have a high potential to kill them if you land a W. Medium matchups are determined on how you play. Landing and dodging skill shots will determine the winner. They'll usually have a bunch of dashes you can take advantage of. Hard matchups are champions with high threat. You will struggle to 1v1 them. Some of these champs can negate most of your damage with blink abilities. Easy matchups. Aery. Her charm makes it hard to go aggressive on her, so only get close when it's down. Even if you get hit by the first part of her Q orb, sidestep it to avoid the second true damage part. At level 6, she's very mobile with 3 dashes, so aim skill shots right after the dash or while she's stunned. Play around your E when she ults and use it to zone her. Action. Stay back while your E is on cooldown, as it's your only real poke tool against him. Don't trade at close range, or he can absorb most of your damage with his shield and will chunk you with true damage. He will look to roam with his camouflage. You can only match his roams when you have ultimate. You can cancel his E rope swing and ult with your E stun and W. Anivia. Her slow moving Q skill shot is easy to dodge and is her only threat pre-6. You may have enough damage to kill her in her egg passive. Ping Eggnivia or let your jungler know when it's down. At level 6, don't go aggressive on her unless she uses Q and her ult. She's likely just gonna perma push waves, so it's best to clear minions and look for roams. Annie. Only respect her when she has 3 or 4 stacks under her health bar to activate her stun, so go aggressive when it's down. She can burst you at level 6, so Mercury Treads are a great defensive option to counter her burst and CC. She can use Tibbers to body block most of your Q. Aurelion Sol. His slow moving Q is the only ability you need to watch out for. Either stay outside or close to him to avoid taking his W orb damage. His main threat comes from wave clearing and roaming. Ward when you can and ping teammates when he appears off screen. You can match his roams at level 6. Corki. Poke safely when possible and try to bait his Q. He's extremely vulnerable without his W dash. E-W-Q combos work better here, as he may even use his W dash to get out and be stunned, then follow up with your W. Watch out when he has his package, as he will likely go for an all-in or use it to roam. He has pretty decent poke at level 6, so watch out for his big rocket, which is every 3rd ult shot. Galio. Auto attack him whenever he uses E. Play a little safe while your E is down. W is another peel to flick him away while he's in his slow moving taunt. At level 6, he will look to ult teleport, so ward behind walls or deep in lane and ping teammates. Look to match his roams with your ultimate. Lux. This will be a poke battle. Avoid her auto attacks if you're marked, but be ready to W combo her if she gets close. Many Luxes take barrier, so anytime you try to dive her, take her W shield and barrier into account, plus her potential to CC you under tower. She's all skill shots, so early boots will help to dodge them. Take runes with extra HP and mana sustain if you need. Nico. Her E root is her only main threat, and it will increase the root duration, speed and width if it passes through minions. Therefore, try not to align with minions, and go aggressive when it's down. At level 6, you should look to W flick her away when she's about to ult you. Rise. Go for quick poke trades. His short range makes it hard for him to combo you without getting rocks to the face. He'll win extended trades though. You can interrupt his ultimate with your W and ultimate. Swain. His main threat is his E, which is a long range route, but it's quite slow and easy to dodge. His main damage comes from Q spam, but it's quite low range, so stay back and Q poke him. His W is easy to dodge unless he hits his E first. At level 6, always save your W to flip him away when he ults. Wait until it times out before getting close to trade with him again. Silas. Keep trades quick as possible, as he will heal most damage taken with his W heal. Ignite is a must if you have any chance of killing him, and Oblivion Orb is great to counter him, especially if he maxes his W first. Always be ready to stun him with E, then follow up with W. At level 6, he will use your ult against you, which isn't that much of a threat, but he will probably use it to roam top or bottom. Be ready to match him. Twisted Fate. Go for hard trades and all-ins when you can. His only real threat comes from his yellow stun card, followed up by a jungle gank. Try to freeze waves just outside your tower to avoid this. At level 6, he will look to push waves and teleport ult, so keep waves pushed, place wards behind river walls and ping teammates when he's level 6. You can cancel his ultimate with your W, look to match roams with your ultimate. Veigar, go for hard trades early. If you don't know where the enemy jungler is, stick to Q poke. Avoid taking his Q damage as he gains AP from every hit. His cage keeps him safe, so don't all in him unless you can one-shot him. His E cage is also his main threat, as it can be followed up by an enemy jungler. Look to all in him at level 6, but make sure you engage at close to full health, as his ultimate can finish you off at around 30% HP early game. Vel'Koz, he is all skill shots, so early boots will help to dodge them. Avoid letting him stack his passive 3 times, or you'll take a chunk of true damage. You should look to catch him out and all in him anytime. Keep track of his flash and ping it to let your jungler know, as he's extremely vulnerable. His main peel tool is his E knockup, so go aggressive when it's down. It has a 16-second cooldown early game. You can cancel his ultimate with your W and your ultimate. He's an easy target to hit while he's channeling his ultimate. Ziggs, avoid standing next to minions or he would land his Q splash damage. He is all skill shots, so early boots will help to dodge them. All in him anytime you can catch him out with a combo. Zilean, his main threat will come when he E slows you and double bomb stuns you, so keep your distance unless you know where the enemy jungler is. Just like most matchups, Zilean is hard to kill at level 6 with his ultimate ready. Push waves and roam. Medium matchups. Azir, respect his Q poke range and stay out of his soldier range. Unless he has used his E dash, careful going in as he can counter trade with you. Look to abuse his dash with your E stun. Cassiopeia, back off early when she lands any Qs, as it will be followed up by her E spam, but she will still face tank your Qs if she does. Stay back while your E and W is on cooldown, as it's your only peel tool against her. At level 6, be ready to face away to avoid being stunned. Hard to kill her with her ult, just push waves in and roam. LeBlanc, be ready to time your E whenever she's about to W dash onto you. LeBlanc struggle to push waves unless she uses her W dash, which leaves her vulnerable. When it comes to LeBlanc's clone, once she reaches 30% HP, Ignite will reveal the real LeBlanc. Her E chain is threatening, so be ready to sidestep it. At level 6, you need to play even safer. Best option is to push waves and roam. Lissandra, you outrange her with your poke. Her main threat comes from her E blink, which will be usually followed up by her W snare, possibly setting up for a jungler. It's hard to kill her at level 6 with her ultimate up, as she's invulnerable and she heals. Push waves and roam. Malzahar, this becomes a very stale lane, as he will look to push waves consistently level 4 onwards. Try to finish off his voidlings to reduce his pushing pressure and force him to use more mana. You must remove Malzahar's shield if you want to W flip him, so use the EWQ combo here. At level 6, be cautious with enemy junglers, as Malzahar can simply flash ult suppress you. Orianna, early game will be a poke battle. You both have great wave clear, however, you excel at roams and are a bigger threat in skirmishes. At level 6, she's quite a big threat herself, so best to push waves and roam. Qiyana, bully her at level 1 and 2 with your Q and E poke. Avoid her Q poke by standing behind minions and go aggressive when you can. As long as you stay close to full HP, she will struggle to outtrade you unless she gets in melee range. Use the E-Rock animation to reveal her location in the Q grass. She's a huge threat with her ultimate, so stay away from walls, rivers and brushes. You can push waves in and roam. Syndra, her main threat comes from her long range E stun. Stay back and focus on poking her until she uses E. You have potential to kill her after some poke. The only reason she isn't a hard matchup is her immobility, which can make her an easy target if you catch her in a brush. Even if you can kill her, she will almost always return damage with her click target ultimate, so pay attention to how many balls she has and make sure you have a lot of health. Talon, you should at least avoid damage from his return W by sidestepping. Always respect his level 2 all in. Just respect his 3-stack passive, which he needs to land both Ws and a Q plus an auto. Look to stun him with your E if he ever tries to Q dash. His main issue comes from his constant E-wall jumping roaming, so place wards and ping teammates. Look to match roams when it's safe, just don't let him catch you in the river 1v1. Seekers and Zhonyas are solid defensive options later on. Vex, You should especially try to dodge her skill shots while her fear passive under her health bar is red, otherwise you're free to trade up close and look for a main trade combo. She can negate quite a bit of damage with her shield. At level 6, her kill pressure is high, so push waves and roam. Just be aware she can also enter the fight from range with her ultimate, so she can match your roams. Victor, respect his Q orders and E laser early on, as it's quite an even trade. Best to stay back and Q poke, otherwise try to push the wave. Keep your distance to stay out of his stun field range anytime you get close. At level 6, his burst is a threat, so stick to Q poke. You'll need to be almost full HP to survive his return damage with a full ultimate combo from him. Unless you can land W's around Fog of War, best to push waves and roam. Xerath, he is all skill shots, so early boots will help to dodge them. Try sidestepping as randomly as possible. Stay behind minions or further back to avoid his E stun and go aggressive anytime it's down. It has a 13-second cooldown. At level 6, look to catch him out and all in him. Keep track of his flash and ping it to let your jungler know. You can cancel his ultimate with your W and your ultimate. Mercury Treads and Banshees are great buys to counter his poke and CC later on. Yasuo, his wind wall blocks your Q, E and ultimate, however your E will still be on the ground if you cast it before he uses his wind wall. You can then still look for a W flip behind his wall. Luckily, his wind wall is 30 seconds early game and your Q is less than 6. Keep trades short as he will win extended fights. Try to remove his passive shield before you go for hard trades. Look to predict his E dash with your E stun. Be extra cautious against junglers with displacement CC, as Yasuo can then ultimate blink combo onto you. Seekers and Zhonyas are solid defensive options later on. Hard matchups. Akali. Keep out of her short Q range and she can't follow up with her empowered auto attack. Try not to go for close trades until her shroud is down. It has a 20-second cooldown. Just stay back and play safe the entire laning phase unless she is low HP. She's a huge threat at level 6, but you can potentially stun her with your E, or look to push waves and roam. Diana. If she lands Q, she out-trades you with her W shield as it will soak up most of your combo. You'll have to bait her Q out if you want to win trades. Her Q poke will chunk you eventually, so avoid being hit as much as possible. If you are hit, stay back or she'll be able to E dash to you twice. You can use E defensively, but the mana will be an issue if you keep spamming it. Stick to pushing and poking at safe distance. Diana lacks escape, so try to set up the wave next to your tower and be ready to set up for your jungler. At level 6, she can and will go for a full combo anytime you get hit by her Q, or she has a jungler nearby. Try to peel her off with your W when you can. Pushing and roaming is effective, but if left alone, she will push towers fast with her passive. Echo. He will push hard early, so aim to push waves as well. As long as he doesn't land his W stun, you should come out ahead or even in trades. Watch out when he appears off screen or comes from a brush, as he may be charging his W stun field. Avoid his 3-stack passive damage during trades. The first part of his E is a dash, the second part is a blink. At level 6, even if you land a full combo, he can negate your damage and then counter you. After 6, look to push waves and roam. Fizz. You out-trade him the first 2 levels. Avoid his E-pole jump when you can and go aggressive when it's down. It has a 15 to 10 second cooldown. He can dodge all your damage with his E-pole jump. At level 6, he's a huge threat and can one-shot you with his ultimate. His roam potential and river pressure is insane, so ping teammates and ward when possible. Aim to push waves in and stay out of his vision, as he could be nearby behind walls and brushes to surprise ultimate you. Roam when it's safe, as in don't let him catch you in the river. Irelia. Play safe to avoid her E and you should win most trades. Look out for a passive once she's reached 5 stacks and stay back, as she'll have enhanced auto attacks with a little bit of extra range. Respect her level 6, as anytime she lands her ultimate, she can easily combo you from 100 to 0. Stay away from low HP minions, as she'll use them to Q dash. Look to land E where you think she'll dash to low HP minions. Push waves and roam. Kassadin. You'll most likely need to pressure him before he reaches level 6. His QMR shield will negate a lot of your poke, so try to time your combos when it's down. Get as many auto attacks in early on. Summon Aery with Corrupting Potion will allow you to constantly poke and trade, as you must pressure him while he's vulnerable. At level 6, you should only ever go for W right after his blink, otherwise he can easily dodge all your skill shots with his ultimate, push waves and counter his roams. Katarina. Level 1 is your only chance to harass her. She's very slippery at level 2 with her E blink, as she can avoid all your abilities. Even with your W and E, it's incredibly hard to peel her off. Anytime she E blinks to you, that will be the best time to land W, just kite back while doing so. At level 6, you can cancel her ultimate with your W or your ultimate at long range. Cat players roam frequently, so ping teammates and ward up whenever possible. Keep her pushed in and she'll struggle to roam as much. Lucian. Play extremely safe early on and only go for combos if you land E stun. Only try to land W while his E dash is on cooldown. His lane dominance means any bad trade and you'll fall behind. Play to push waves, poke with Q from range, survive lane and take advantage of your teamfight potential later on. Vladimir. Push him in early. Always avoid his third charged Q and wait until it times out. His W pool can avoid your entire combo, so only use W when it's down. His blood pool has around 30-second cooldown early game. Ignite is important to counter his healing and damages him in his W blood pool. Your mana usage is important here, since Vlad is a manaless champ, he will always out-sustain you in the long run. Oblivion Orb and later on Morellonomicon are solid items to counter his healing, probably best after your Mythic and Boots. Yone. Bully him the first 2 levels. His E hard counters your E. Even if you land it, he can use E and recast it to cancel the CC altogether. Only look to land combos while his E is down. Most Yones will look for trades when his Q dash knockup is ready and his E is up, so stay back when you see the Q animation. His E has around 20-second cooldown. At level 6, he will win all-ins with his consistent damage, so only safely poke him with Q. His ult is a blink, so you cannot stun him with E. Seekers and Zhonyas are solid defensive options later on. Zed. Bully him until level 3. When he uses his W shadow combo, that's the only time he can go aggressive, as you'll have about 20 seconds before he can cast it again. At level 6, you never want to use your W, as he can dodge it altogether with his ult. If he ults you first, he will always appear behind you, so look to flick him away with your W into your E and Q, kiting away from his shadows. Seekers and Zhonyas are solid defensive options later on. So you're interested in learning Taliyah, but unsure if she's worth investing time on. Let's first go over strengths, basically reasons you want to play Taliyah over other champs. Then we'll cover weaknesses to consider, and I'll mention some quick solutions. Strengths. Insane damage. With plenty of AoE from her Q and E, she will destroy teamfights if enemies are grouped up. This also means she has great wave clear and can deal consistent damage to objectives like Dragon and Baron. CC heavy. She has 2 slows from her big Q and E area, 2 knockups from W and ultimate, and 1 stun from her E. That's 5 ways to CC your enemy in her kit. On top of this, she can buy items like Everfrost or Rylai's. Snowball potential. With a high AP mythic like Ludens, you'll one-shot any squishy you can full combo. Once you start stacking a rune like Dark Harvest, your snowball game's out of control. Making picks. Because of her passive movement speed and ultimate wall surfing, you can look for easy targets from halfway across the map anytime you want to roam. Amazing kiting. With a medium to long range spammable Q and peel from her W and E, you can kite for days, as long as you maintain that perfect distance. Weaknesses. Skill shot reliant. With all her damage, there is a downside. None of her abilities are guaranteed. Look for teammate CC to follow up, or use brush tactics to surprise enemies. Practice goes a long way, especially with her unique W ability. Squishy. Just like most mages, you are extremely squishy. Buy items like Zhonyas or Banshees to protect yourself from critical abilities that can catch you out. Mana issues. If you start spamming E and W in lane without hitting your enemy, you'll quickly go Only go for these mana heavy combos if you have a big chance to kill them. Otherwise, stick to poking with Q and utilize the big Q for low mana cost, and use the AoE to hit multiple minions. If you still have mana problems, check out the build section for mana sustain runes and items. Blink abilities. Although Taliyah can counter champions with dashes, blinks are the opposite. Champions like Kassadin or Zed who have multiple blinks can easily avoid all your CC and damage. Look into matchup for specific tips. One quick tip is to always save your W until they have initiated. For example, Zed will always appear behind you when he ults. Liability ultimate. If you misplace your ultimate, you can literally force your own teammates out of a fight or even knock them into the enemy team. Make sure to recast the wall to destroy it if this happens. Practicing this ability a few times is important to understand the timing and distance. Pay attention to where you are while surfing the wall. Getting off early might save you from a death. Jungle. Although this guide focuses mainly on mid, almost everything can be applied to jungle Taliyah. For runes, Dark Harvest or First Strike is best, so use the 2 cheat sheets in the build section. Pick up Hailblade and Refillable Potion. Smite will be upgradable into the Chilling Smite, which you can use the slow to set up your Q and W, or even finish off low HP enemies with the damage. You'll want to start Q at level 1, E at level 2, and then W level 3. Here are 2 example jungle paths you can use. If you start blue side, start red buff, as you'll be able to get help from your bot lane for a quicker clear. Then follow the rest of the path. You can look to take Scuttle when it's safe, preferably if you have mid pressure. Look around for easy ganks, but that's best when you're at least level 3 for your W. If you start red side, again we'll be looking at bot lane for some help, taking the blue buff this time. Follow the rest of the path. These paths are standard, so if you're an experienced jungler, you can pick your own paths. A few tips if you're new to jungling. Get ward triggered first, then place it early, around the 1 minute mark, in the river, whichever side you think you'll be counter jungled. So if I'm playing on red side, starting blue, I'll place it on the top side river dot bush because I'm predicting a Lee Sin will try and fight me at my red. Then return to base and swap it out for Sweeper Lens. You should get to your camp just in time for the spawn. When looking for ganks or generally pathing, keep close to walls for the passive movement speed. Sweep any brushes for wards as you're ganking. Look to use WEQ on enemies just in range over walls, otherwise you'll have to walk up to them. Look to chain your W with teammate CC. So if you have a Syndra mid for example, ping on the way, let her hit her E stun, then follow up with W. Even if you just get a flash early game, that's fine, just keep that lane a priority while their flash is down. You have quite good clear speeds, so focus on clearing if there's no opportunities to gank. Check brushes with Q anytime you suspect the enemy jungler is nearby. At level 6, you have global pressure with your ultimate. Keep an eye on lanes that might be ganked and be ready to counter gank entering with your ultimate. Solo Dragon when you are safe to, as you have plenty of damage with your Q. Don't be afraid to counter jungle when you know where the enemy jungler is. When it comes to fighting junglers, most will win close up at melee range, so keep your distance and kite them with Q. Again, all other tips in this guide should be used while playing jungle. Bot lane. Let's start with bot lane tips in general. Aim to chain CC with your support or ADC. If it's an engaged champ like Blitz or Thresh, you can wait for them to land hooks first. Sometimes you can even use your E first to slow enemies and make it easier for your support or ADC to follow up. If they have a slow, like Karma or Varus, you'll have an easier time going for a W flip. You'll want to farm and poke safely until level 3, then go for combos when you can and be ready to all in. Mana will be an issue if you keep spamming E, so only use it if you're ready for an all in or you have almost full mana already. All tips throughout this guide should be applied to bot lane. Support. Pick up Spell Thief's Edge. Try to poke anytime the gold passive is up. Aim for 500 stacks in order to upgrade your wards. Remember to auto towers when possible. Once you're able to buy wards, swap your trinket for Sweeper's Lens. As for runes, as a support your gold is limited, so First Strike is efficient. Unless you can guarantee Dark Harvest stacks, go with First Strike as it's much more consistent. You can also pick up a bunch of utility runes from Inspiration like Magical Footwear and Futures Market. As support Taliyah, you'll want to focus on poking enemies in lane. Hang around the brush area for more pressure as most enemies will have to respect your W. Your mindset should be to put as much pressure on enemies so that your AD can farm safely. You have decent peel with W and E if enemies decide to go aggressive. Roaming is a great option when you're pushed up and your AD goes for base. If you feel you'll prioritize roaming, take Relentless Hunter over Ingenious. Use your Q to check brushes so you or your ADC don't have to face check. Just like in other roles, Taliyah is very squishy, so respect your enemies, especially tank supports with CC or the lane could quickly snowball against you. Remember to use E on any ADCs that have dashes like Lucian or Vayne. Lanes with mobile champs will be challenging as your WE much harder to land, and their gap closers could leave you in a vulnerable position if your W and E are down. Bot lane carry. All runes are viable here, however, I would recommend Dark Harvest, since bot lane has 2 champs and is generally filled with 2v2 fights, jungle ganks and mid roams. You'll be able to pick up stacks a lot more. If you have a tanky support, stay back until enemies use their main threatening abilities. Once they focus that tanky support, you can go aggressive. If your tanky support engages, try to burst out that one target. If you have a squishy support like Soraka or Janna, you'll have to play extremely passive in lane, only going for long Q pokes, trying to wave clear and farm up for levels and XP. This will almost feel like playing Taliyah mid, except you'll usually be a lower level than usual. After the rework, Taliyah mid has come back to life and it feels just as strong as she once was. With great scaling and new mechanics on her Q, E and ultimate, in my opinion, this has been a successful rework. The stone weaving champ is back to dominate with one-shot combos, constant roaming and wall surfing entrances. My only fear now is that she'll be so popular and eventually be nerfed. If you're looking for an excuse to start playing Taliyah mid, now is your chance. If you like this guide, I would really appreciate the like and subscription. Although I enjoy making them, it takes quite a bit of time to put together. Any feedback is welcome, whether it's to do with this Taliyah guide or the guides in general. For making it this far, here's a sneak peek at the next possible champion. It will either be between Swain, Yone or Katarina. I'm Zoose, good luck in your ranked games and I'll see you in the next guide.